So this is the story of Squanto. The Spaniards came over and they would enslave Native Americans, and a Catholic priest, Bartolome de las Casas, spends his whole life to get the King of Spain to stop the enslavement of Native Americans. Some of the people would come to the New World and lure Indians on their boat. 2 times he was captured. The first time, Ferdinando Gorges, he asked some of them if they want to go to England. And so he went to England with them, and then they met William Shakespeare, and he came back with another fishing expedition to Newfoundland. And then later that year, as around 1614, another Captain Hunt comes by, and he's the one that captures him and locks him below deck and takes him to Malaga, Spain. Some friars rescue him, and he'd never seen a horse before. And then they give him his freedom. He hitchhikes his way back to England, finds another expedition, and then lands in the area where he's from, only to find out that his entire tribe died in a plague. It was so bad that the other tribes would not claim that land. Think how depressing that would have been. Just want to get back home and everybody's dead. And so the Pilgrims, instead of going to Jamestown, they got blown off course, and instead of landing anywhere else, they landed at this one spot where the other Indian tribes wanted to stay away. So in a sense, it was uninhabited. Pilgrims landed, half survived the first winter. A few days later, arrived Squanto, a native of this place who had been in England and could speak English better than himself. So he knew the Indian languages, he knew English, and he allowed the Indians and the English to get along. Where in Jamestown, they had massacres, they had fighting, they would, capture the chief's daughter, Pocahontas, and sort of keep her captive, and it was all, but not with the Pilgrims. And so Squanto shows them how to plant corn. They said, we tried that. He goes, no, you gotta take a fish and put it in the dirt with the corn, and the decomposing fish will fertilize the soil, and you'll get a stalk of corn. And then he taught him how to take the corn, put it in a pot, shake it over a fire, and make popcorn. That's where popcorn came from, the American Indians. And then he knew that place like the back of his hand. Could you imagine this? Half the Pilgrims died the first winter. An Indian comes in to their town and says, oh, hi, you guys from England? Yeah, I used to live there. Yeah, St. Paul's Cathedral and the pub down on Wharf Street, And then he goes, oh, here? Yeah, I grew up here. I know this place like the back of my hand, over the hills of spring. And who could have planned that? They made peace, which has now continued 24 years, and Squanto stayed was their interpreter. And so the Chief Massasoit, described Squanto as a special instrument sent of God for their good beyond their expectation. The story of Squanto, he had bad things happen to him. But it was those bad things that put him in a position. Had he not been kidnapped, he most certainly would have died in that plague. But the problems he went through enabled him to save the Pilgrims and to allow this covenant form of government to become our national form of government. We have these freedoms.